Match number 1, we are playing Boros Energy today. Let's see what our hand has to offer, and I do like this. It's unfortunate that our second land will be a tap land, but turn 1 Ragavan might be enough. Hello Kitty, do you like Ragavan? Apparently my cat likes monkeys. Does our opponent have a removal for Ragavan? If he doesn't, I will be really happy. Come on, take a seat in your bed. And we can move the camera. So cut it today. Let's move to combat, try to hit with our Ragavan. Our opponent played a basic plains. Could be a lot of different decks. Depending on what our opponent does right now, it can definitely narrow it down. If there is something like a March of Otherworldly Light, it will be the new modern hotness, Mono W Landdestruction. If there is something like a Solitude, this is a mix of both, so probably it is a land destruction deck. Don't really like the sound of that. Come on, relax, everything's good. I will keep a land on top to play a Fable next turn, and let's just run out our Ocelot Pride and hope our opponent doesn't answer it. It is a Mono White Land Destruction deck, so I am really happy to have the third land, and I definitely won't be grabbing a basic, so his Feet of Ruin effects won't Stone Rain us anytime soon. And Fable also helps us ramp ahead. Ooh, our opponent is on main deck Reprieve with Aversion. But we still get to hit him and make some token. I'm not sure if they run Wrath of the Skies main deck or Wrath of God as their sweeper. I think it's a mix of both actually. That can definitely become annoying. Opponent exiles our Ocelot Pride, that's fine. That way we get to resolve our Fable, and we can just have to turn again. I will most likely get rid of this Blood Moon, even though it can make our opponent's Demolition Fields worth. I don't really think there is any reason for us to keep it, because those 2 planes should probably be enough for our opponent. So let's just get rid of this Blood Moon, but I do like the rest of our hand, so I will keep the rest. We draw a Goblin Bombardment, that's pretty nice, so let's deploy our Bombardment and move to combat with our Shaman, so we can try to flip our Ajani. Opponent stops us before we go to combat and gets rid of our Bombardment. That's kind of annoying. So I think I will just remove the Apparition right now. Make sure we get the hit in. Make another token, hit our opponent. Make the treasure. And I will just stay back with my Guide of Souls in my hand. Make sure I won't overextend into a potential Wrath, because this deck sure plays a lot of those. Opponent misses the land drops, that's pretty neat. And we do find a Voice of Victory, that's also pretty nice. We could play Guide of Souls before we play the Voice of Victory, but I think I will play the Voice of Victory before. So we make our opponent use their removal spells right now. What shall it be, opponent? Pass to Exile, possibly? It's another Reprieve. Let's just recast our Voice. This time it resolves, we get to hit our opponent for 4. Make another treasure token, and once again, I don't want to overextend into a Wrath too much. This Voice of Victory is just here as insurance for our next turn. And there is the Wrath. It is just the Wrath of the Sky, so our Reflection will survive, that's pretty nice. Let's just move to our turn. Find another Goblin Bombardment, that's also pretty good. Question being, do we play Guide? Do we copy something with Reflection? Do we play Ajani? Do we play Bombardment? I think I will just play the Bombardment for now. And play the Guide of Souls. If we don't get value from our Reflection, we can still just hit our opponent for 2. And with our Bombardment we can also try to fade single target removal. Cat just jumped away, So let's focus on myself again. I hope you guys have already watched my commentary video on the rules change from Urza's Saga. It was a lot of work for such a short video, and I am still trying to figure stuff out, how I edit things, how everything works, how I find a good flow for everything. So I would really appreciate it if you checked it out, left a like and left a comment. You can even just comment here because I want to improve those videos, but for it being my first commentary video, except for it being so short, and I think I'm really happy with it. Now we get to flip 2 Arjanis, and if our opponent has no answer for those and the bombardment, I think this should be lethal. There is another path to exile. I will sacrifice Arjani to ping our opponent, because we do have the second Arjani, and I just want to deal as much damage as possible for now. Especially with our Flage coming next turn. I just want to hit our opponent as hard as we can, and our opponent scoops it up onto sideboarding. Sideboarding against Mono W Landdestruction, that's definitely a doozy and not a matchup you expect to face as much. I think I do like the showdowns to grind a bit more, and I think that Static Prison is not good against them. They do play Wrath of the Skies to get rid of those. They do not really have any targets that I want to get rid of Source at every speed, but we have the discharges to get rid of some of their creatures. We have Frame Charm in case they have some enchantments, and I'm not sure there's anything else I'm really interested in. I will keep the 1 Blood Moon in for now, because I want to see how deep they're in the tank with all their land destruction. The lists I am memorizing right now do run 4 Ghost Quarters, 4 Field of Ruin, and 4 Demolition Field, but I think 1 Blood Moon might actually be able to color screw them in some games. So let's run it back like that and see where it takes us. Game number 2 against Mono W Landdestruction. We do have the Seasoned Pyromancer, we do have a Galvanic Discharge, and we do have the Blood Moon. This hand does not really have any Gaias, but we are able to filter and grind with Seasoned Pyromancer, and I think this might be enough to outgrind them in some cases. So I will just keep it and see how it goes. We do have removal against the early creatures, if they even play any. They are also on Sunken Citadel to activate their stuff earlier, right. So this Blood Moon might actually be pretty handy against the Mono White deck. We have our Guide of Swords. Make our opponent use something. They are already using a Demolition Field against our Sacred Foundry. We will definitely grab a land. Let's just grab our Mountain in case our opponent will play a creature for right now. Even though I doubt that will happen. And there's a Relic of Progenitus against our Flages. We draw an Arjani. That's a pretty good draw. I won't complain, because we can just run it out, make some energy, gain some life, and hit our opponent with our Guide of Souls. No big hit here, but we might be able to stop our opponent from blowing up any future lands. There is a White Orchid Phantom. We find a basic Plains, so our Blood Moon won't color screw ourselves. Let's just get rid of one of our lands in the graveyard. And our opponent passes the turn. I will just play the Blood Moon right here. I could play the Seasoned Pyromancer to give something flying. Let's first attack with our Cat Token to see what our opponent does. Our opponent blocks and we get to flip Arjani. Maybe our opponent doesn't expect us to have a red permanent. Does block. He could also have a removal spell for our Arjani before it gets to transform. Would be unfortunate. He does have a removal spell right here, but we at least get to grab our last basic. And I will play the Blood Moon to stop our opponent from using another Field of Ruin effects. There is a Ghost Quarter that would just be a strip mine without the Blood Moon. And here comes a Wrath. We take it from the Phantom. Our opponent played a Witch Enchant to get rid of our Blood Moon. That's pretty annoying, especially because we don't have any more untapped lands. The Ghost Quarter also looking really dangerous because it will be a strip mine. I will keep an Ocelot right here, get rid of the Witch Enchanter, and dash in my Ragavan. Dredgers will be really important for us for every turn going on forward from now. So we are able to still cast our spells in case they get any more land destruction. What do we find? We find Beta Bounding Spring. I have never seen this creature. Create a treasure token, have a point towards my land, gain life. Okay, that's a catch-up spell. Legendary Elk. Back to our opponent. Opponent, activate the relic. Let's just get rid of our Blood Moon. Does not really matter what we activate here. Opponent activates the relic, corrects it to draw a card. Attacks us for 2. Yes, that's what it looks like. And apparently he missed another land drop because he played his Witch Enchanter as a creature. Interesting. Now let's dash our Ragavan. Gain a life, gain an energy. Let's play our Ocelot Pride. This might look like we are overextending into a board wipe, but I do want to play the Seasoned Pyromancer either way, so there's no reason for us to hold anything back right here. And let's attack our opponent. I will use the Guide of Souls once more in hopes that there is no removal spell, and to make it more likely that our opponent goes for our Guide of Souls and lets our Ragavan connect. Opponent uses Solitude to get rid of our Guide of Souls. Should have maybe done so before we got live with our Ocelot Pride in play. And he's also on Ephemerate. Okay, that's dangerous. We are definitely not looking too hot, because our opponent will also get to remove our next creature with this Solitude. Let's survey before we play our Seasoned Pyromancer to see if there is a land on top that we can get rid of. There is another Ocelot Pride. I will keep that. And let's draw 2 cards with our Seasoned Pyromancer. We draw Ocelot and we draw Galvanic Discharge. Unfortunately, there is no window for us to interact to get rid of the Solitude beforehand. And we are missing 1 permanent for City's Blessing to make more cat token. Opponent, do you get rid of Ocelot Pride or Seasoned Pyromancer? He gets rid of the Ocelot Pride. And we are all out of lands. The only lands left in our decks that we actually can use are our Arena of Glories. So this is just a dead card, unfortunately. Let's try to remove our opponent's Solitude. If they have a second Ephemerate, it would be really rough. They don't. I will also run out our Ocelot Pride and hit our opponent. Still hoping that there is no further board webs coming, but even if that should happen, we would have our Seasoned Pyromancer in our graveyard to flash it back, and our opponent would not have their White Orchid Phantom any longer. They do keep it back to block our creatures, which probably is a smart idea, and we just draw lands. Is there any reason for us to attack with anything? Our opponent is at 11 life. I don't really think there is. But maybe we should still attack with the Seasoned Pyromancer, because this is our last real chance to activate it. When our opponent starts Field of Ruining a land and then plays a Ghost Quarter, we won't have another opportunity to do so, so I will just run my Seasoned Pyromancer in, and maybe our opponent thinks we do have something. No, our opponent probably just thinks we forgot that his White Orchid Phantom has first strike, so we will just pass it back. We should have also attacked with a cat token. That would have been a 3 point of damage. I did not think of that. That's unfortunate, but that's life. Opponent uses their Field of Ruin. Let's just float a mana. Okay. can just use the Sealing Pyromancer in the end step. Opponent starts attacking us now. Or maybe he did draw a board wipe that he wants to use. Drew Beza, because we have more life, he gains for life. Because we have more creatures, he gets some creatures, but we don't have more. That's pretty good right here. Opponent gets a lot of stuff. And we draw a Ragavan. Let's just dash it in. Our opponent will block either Ragavan or Ocelot Pride. But we do have to start doing something. Opponent should probably trade with the Ocelot Pride so we don't get to go wide. But maybe he will block the Ragavan. No? Cute little baby. Opponent does trade with our Ocelot Pride. It's probably the better idea. On a demolition field that does not do anything for us. Let's just pass the turn. I do keep those lands in hand because we have no fetchable target for them and we can still loot them away with a Fable later on. Opponent hits us for 6. We find a Voice of Victory. That's pretty nice because it stops them from solituding our Ragavan. If there is a Solitude coming down, there is a Solitude. Was to be expected. Gets rid of one of our token. Let's dash Ragavan. Let's attack with all our creatures. Our opponent will most likely trade with the Ragavan. Maybe he will also just eat one of our token. He just eats one of our token because he wants to go for lethal next turn. But we do find a path to exile, so let's just get rid of his big creature. Otherwise we would have had to jump with our Voice of Victory. Fortunate for us, that's not the case. And obviously finds a land, everything else would have been really weird. We just take the hit. Opponent can't use removal in our turn, so he has Ephemerate for the Solitude right now. That's pretty annoying, but we do find a Showdown. That's a huge draw pass because it can find lots of things. Showdown of the Skulls giving its best to try to impersonate the One Ring. And those cards do look pretty good. Question right now is how do we order those? Do we dash Ragavan, make our opponent block? Do we use Flage right now to get rid of our opponent's Phantom actually? Because I don't really care for the Solitude here. Do we discharge Ocelot and Ragavan for maximum value? I think I will go for the Flage right now. And I will actually get rid of our opponent's Phantom. Because I have to keep my lands. Well, let's pass a turn, and next turn we can still play those cards. And hopefully try to stop our opponent from running away with the game. There is a Celestial Purge, so we don't even have to consider escaping our Flage. Does our opponent use Ephemerate to get rid of our cat token? I doubt he will. But maybe he does. I think our opponent probably just wants to get a hit in to gain some life and reduce our life total a bit more. Yes, our opponent keeps the Ephemerate in exile. We just take the hit. One of the good things is that we for a fact know that our opponent does not have any surprise reach. Opponent plays a Skytech Apparition to get rid of our Showdown. We actually like that. We don't get the buff because of that. But we do get a big creature once we kill the Apparition. Let's dash the Ragavan from exile and see how our opponent, or if our opponent decides to block. Let's just hit him. And if he doesn't, we will play Flage to get rid of the Solitude. Because that way we will gain life for our Ursula Pride. Our opponent does trade. That's completely fine. Get a big token. We get to discharge away his Solitude. And I will just keep Flage and Ragavan back in my hand. We could run out the Ragavan, but I expect our opponent to have an answer for some of these things, because otherwise I doubt he would have gone for the Apparition right now. And otherwise he might have waited to get rid of our Ursula Pride because he knew there was one in exile. It looks like a board wipe. It is the Wrath of the Skies, and our opponent will have some excess energy for a future board wipe. Magic Online tried to skip my turn. Unfortunately, we don't get to dash in our Ragavan, I guess. But that's still fine, I think. We can still just play it normally. Let's back to our opponent. We have 3 dead lands in our hand, but we do still have lots of looters in our library. Down to 30 cards in deck, and we still have 2 Fable and 2 Seasoned Pyromancer. Opponent does Stone Rain us. But fortunately enough, there is still 4 lands in play that we can escape our Flage, and we do find a Fable for the next turn. That's really nice. Let's just exile some things from our graveyard. Get our Flage. Hit our opponent with Ragavan to make a treasure. What do we find? We find a Celestial Purge. That's good. Our opponent won't have too many answers against Flage now. There's still some path to exile, there's still some Solitude, but it is 1 removal left. What is it? It's another Wrath of the Skies. Okay. Opponent has another board wipe. Making good use of his excess energy. And there is another White Orchid Phantom. Now I'm really happy we have this Fable. Really happy we have this. Oh no, right. We still had the Ghost Quarter left. We draw an Arena of Glory. That's maybe our best draw, because it's one of only 3 lands left in our deck that still produces mana. And we get to play our Fable now. And we draw another Fable for the next turn. That's huge. One of the sad things is that Arena of Glory is no mountain itself, so even if we draw another Arena of Glory, we won't be able to escape Flage with haste. Our opponent will probably just keep back his White Orchid Phantom to trade away with our Shaman. He goes for the attack, so he probably has a removal for it. Doubt our opponent would otherwise go all in right here. There is another Wrath of the Skies. Okay, we can live with that. We have a second Fable. And we also find another Flage. Run out Fable. Hope our opponent does not have another removal spell for it. It's just a land, and this 1 card our opponent has been holding for quite some time. It's another Beza. He didn't play it because we didn't give him too many resources. We do have more cards in hand, so he does get to draw off of it, but that's okay for us. We find another Arena of Glory. That's huge. That's more card draw for us. Find Arjani and Ramcham. Not card draw, whatever thing. It's another land we can play. Let's just hit our opponent with a Shaman to make a treasure. And if our opponent should block, we can escape Flage to kill the Beza. But our opponent probably has to block it, because otherwise we get to make more mana next turn. He lets it go through. That way we can play Arjani. And we do have removal for his Beza without Raven Charm. We'll just hold it ready. Opponent does not really have any good attacks right now. There's a Witch Enchanter to probably get rid of our Fable. Opponent gets rid of our Fable, that's okay. But opponent passes a turn, I assume? Yes. Let's just try to get rid of Beza right now, because if our opponent has nothing left in his hand, we do have lethal off of our Escape Flage, which looks like it's the case. 1-0, won against Mono W Landdestruction in a really insane grind fest. On to the next match. Game number 2. Our hand looks okay. We can work with that. We have a God of Swords, we do have Seasoned Pyromancer to discard Flage, and we have a Threaten Charm to interact with some stuff. It's nothing perfect, but it's definitely something we can keep. Our opponent is mulliganing down to 5 cards already. Let's see if it's some sort of crazy combo deck, just unfortunate, or Tron. It is Tron. Did not even get to finish my sentence. Question that's still open is if it is just an Eldrazi deck or if it is actual Tron, but we will have an answer to that rather quickly, I assume. Opponent plays the Labyrinth, exile 2 lands and a Malevolent Rumble. Plays the Talisman. Okay. I will play my Ajani right now, even though we are weak to a board wipe like this, because I do want to put my opponent under a bit of pressure. The unfortunate thing is that we won't necessarily be able to play our Seasoned Pyromancer next turn guaranteed. But if we get to, we might be in decent shape. Right now it really depends on whether or not our opponent has board wipes. Here's the tapped land, this Devourer is gone. Our opponent could still have Kozilek's Return or Kozilek's Command. Uses some mana already. It is a Kozilek's Return in his turn, so he does not want us to use something instantly to flip our Ajani. That's unfortunate if we don't draw land to play our Pyromancer, which we do. That's really nice. I will just fetch Shock to make sure we can escape our Flage if we draw basic planes. Let's pitch both our spells for some token, and we just draw 2 lands, but that's still okay because we do have our Flage in our graveyard. But we still have to hope our opponent does not have a Kozilek's Command. But if our opponent also has a Kozilek's Command after the board wipe, so be it. There is a Writhing Chrysalis, that's annoying, but we can definitely work around that. Somebody just surprise you. Everything good, kitty? Okay. Let's grab a plains. First move to combat and see if our opponent blocks our Seasoned Pyromancer. Because if he blocks the Pyromancer, we can shoot the Chrysalis. He doesn't. Opponent takes a 3. 4, 5. So do I shoot one of our opponent's spawn? He's at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana if I don't. So I will actually shoot one of the spawns. We will just sacrifice it in response to his buff his Chrysalis, and so that we don't gain the life, but I do make sure our opponent can't guaranteed play a 7-drop next turn. Just hold on, everything's good. Or don't. There is a micro spawn. That's fine with us. We do have enough lands. Don't really care about that. And we can also just shoot it down with our Flage next turn. Even draw another one. Or let's just play our Spyro. Maybe we draw an answer to the Chrysalis. Can at least get rid of these 2 lands. And we draw an Ajani. That's really good for the next turn. I will just full swing, because if our opponent has something big, he can flashback the Kozilek's Return either way. So he will wipe our board then, except for the Flage. And we will obviously shoot the Microspawn, the opponent can't double block the Flage. Opponent blocks his Pyromancer, so he goes down to 8. And now he most likely has an answer to our Flage with a big 7 drop, I assume. There is a Utopia Sprawl and the 1 card left in his hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. Exactly. But nothing happens. We like the sound of that. Let's play Ajani. Let's play a land. I will swing in and I will shoot my cat token with the Flage to maybe dodge some more removal spells. And if our opponent uses the removal spells on Ajani, I am absolutely fine with that. It's just another Kozilek's Return, that's also okay. Kinda annoying that it gets to answer our Flage, and that we did not get the damage, but we still got life from our Flage, so our Ocelot Pride will be able to make token. Opponent gets to trade. We play Ocelot Pride. And we do make some token end of turn. Fortunately, our opponent will be able to cast this boy now and get to board wipe us with his Kozilek's Return. But if he casts it now, that means there is nothing to answer our Flage immediately. That's also okay. Does he use a return to get rid of our 1 token? He does. There's still another return waiting in the graveyard. And maybe, just maybe, we do find an Arena of Glory. Let's see what we've got. That's a Static Prison. That's also pretty sweet. And so I will not use the Static Prison right now. I will wait with it in case our opponent draws a Sire of 7 Deaths, or maybe even an Ugin, because those are more dangerous threats to us. And this Devour, in the worst case, it will just block. That looks like a Kozilek's Command with 5 mana. It's another Devourer. That's rough because it gets to exile our Flage. We can flashback our Pyromancer token, and our opponent is already down at 5 life. This is not lethal for now. Oh! Or we get to kill our opponent 1 turn later. Now we're just hoping that our opponent does not draw a Kozilek's Command to exile the Flage. If he draws a Kozilek's Command, let's give a top deck. Typical skill issue on our side. It doesn't look like it. We go down to 4. And our opponent scoops it up. Nice. On to sideboarding. Sideboarding against Eldrazi. We do have these nice cards. Get jumping though. There she is. Say hello. Hello, baby. We obviously bring in our big mana hate with Blood Moon and Molten Rain, and we can just get rid of all those galvanic discharges. We can also get rid of Thraben Charm or 2. We can bring in the Wear Tear to answer Utopia Sprawls. I'm not sure if our opponent is playing Sire of 7 Deaths, but I assume he is, so I will keep in Static Prison and 1 more Thraben Charm. So I will just get rid of 1 other thing, and it will be one of the Flages. Game number 2, our opponent is on the play, and he keeps his 7-card hand. Our hand unfortunately has no pressure and no good interaction. This, on the other hand, does look really good. 2 Molten Rains can definitely do work. Question now is, are we greedy with what we put on the bottom? We could go safe and put a Seasoned Pyromancer on the bottom, but we could be greedy and put one of our lands on the bottom because we are on the draw. And I actually do kind of want to do that, so I can play Ajani turn 2 and hope to just draw a land and refuel with Seasoned Pyromancer in case our opponent plays a board wipe after. Maybe that's a bit too greedy, but I am a greedy man. Let's get rid of one of our lands. Opponent has another Devourer of Destiny to filter for the next draw. Gets rid of 2 Soil Micro Spawns. That's good for us after putting away a land. Just plays the Ugin's Labyrinth and nothing else. We play Arid Mesa and we will surveil to look for our third land drop. Nothing happening so far. Opponent plays a forest and has a Trinisphere. That's annoying. But with our Molten Rains and our Seasoned Pyromancer, we can definitely still win through that. So what is that? Ragavan. Unfortunately, you don't really work with this Trinisphere. Let's just play a land and regret our life choice of not putting away the Seasoned Pyromancer maybe. Especially with this Trinisphere not having 3 lands, it does hurt a lot. Our opponent has an Eldrazi Temple, but nothing to do. We draw land. We never didn't have it. The kids say, let's grab a land and let's start Molten Raining our opponent. Let's get rid of the Eldrazi Temple. Opponent probably plays a Kozilek's Command. Exactly, starts making spawns. And we'll still potentially have 7 mana next turn, 6 at the very least. Hoping that there is no Soil Micro Spawn in there that could get rid of our land. Opponent keeps 2 cards on top. Sounds like a lot of danger. There is another land, 7 mana, but opponent does not play anything. Very interesting. We find another land. I like that. Let's get rid of our opponent's Labyrinth. Or we'll probably just pick back up the Devourer. Opponent does not pick up the Devourer. Opponent instead casts another Kozilek's Command. Makes 4 tokens, cries for 4. And probably will still have 7 mana at his disposal. 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. And probably will just again draw land. There is another Eldrazi Temple and 8 potential mana, even though we double Stone Rain them. I think Chrysalis with all these spawns. That's annoying. Let's surveil before we cast our Seasoned Pyromancer right here. There is a Static Prison. That's really nice to answer the Chrysalis. Let's keep it on top. And let's get rid of Flage and the Guide of Souls. We also find another land so we can double spell next turn potentially. Will our opponent start sacrificing his spawns to go all in? That's a lot of Chrysalis triggers. Is it just another command? It's Emrakul. Theoretically, we do have an answer for that, so we will just look at what our opponent does to us. It has reach, but it has no trample, so we can block this. Opponent can just use our Static Prison to get rid of something else. But maybe we are lucky that our opponent does not play the Static Prison. Never wear any pants. Our opponent is exerting the Arena of Glory for the Flage. So we will just run the Flage in and kill our board, but we will be able to answer the Emrakul. That's pretty okay actually. Opponent could have done a way worse things. I mean, he did wipe our board. He makes it so we can't double spell next turn, but because most of our opponent's mana was in the Eldrazi spawns, being able to get rid of the Emrakul right now actually is pretty nice, because now our opponent won't be able to cast anything big and scary, and just taking 1 hit or 2 from this Chrysalis does not really hurt us. And next turn we will be able to play both Ajanis, to flip them, and have a couple of blockers left behind. We will absolutely pay. We find a Goblin Bombardment, that's also a great draw. So let's just do that instead. Goblin Bombardment, Ajani, and we will just stay back and keep our blockers at the ready. If our opponent does not have anything, we will actually, our opponent is completely tapped out basically because of the Trinity Sphere. I think we just have lethal. Opponent attacks, we block with the cat, we sacrifice the cat, we flip our Ajani. Because we can fill our graveyard by legend rooting away Ajani and not paying for the static prison potentially, or we just find a seasoned pyromancer to make more buddies. That should just be lethal. We can even haste our seasoned pyromancer as well. And still escape Flage. Choose our Ajani. Shoot our opponent for 3. Based on the pyromancer did not really matter because we have to sacrifice him to escape. But we do get our Flage. Flage, as everybody here should know, deals 12 damage when escaped with haste from Arena of Glory. And because our opponent has locked himself out of casting anything with his Trinity Sphere, he will just die. Let's move to combat. Hit our opponent for another 9, and we would even have 3 more damage with our Goblin Bombardment at the ready. Nice, we're 2-0. On to the next match. Match number 3. We are on the draw this time around. Unfortunately, our hand is really slow. It is really nice if our opponent would also have a really slow hand, but I can't risk it, so I will take a mulligan. And this looks a lot better. Let's just get rid of one of our Flooded Strands and keep it. Let's see what our opponent is playing. Opponent plays an Eldrazi Temple. It's an Eldrazi deck again. But we don't know which variant it is for now. But I'm really happy I did mullet my hand because we do have Ragavan turn 1 and that's one of the best plays we have. Post-board, pre-board. Ragavan is just one of our best cards against big mana and combo. Opponent has a second Eldrazi Temple. That's scary. Let's see if our Ragavan will connect or if there is a Kozilek's command. Maybe even a Dismember. You never know. Opponent uses 4 mana for Eldrazi spell. It is a Kozilek's command. Makes 2 spawns. This card is so absurdly broken. In my opinion, this is by far the best still legal Modern Horizons 3 card. Nadu was better. There is a reason why Nadu is banned. But this card is really fucking good. Let's see what the big scary play from our opponent is. He's also on Gemstone Caverns. It is Astral Cornucopia. Our opponent is playing Dicefactory. Okay, I see you, opponent. There is a core tapper. Now I'm really happy we have the Conqueror in our sideboard to stop all of these shenanigans post-board. Luckily enough, our opponent does not anything else going on for now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. Our opponent will next turn have access to 7 mana. And most likely he has Ugin in hand to start exiling our stuff. We have to make sure that we somehow fill our graveyard. That's the beginning. So our Flages can potentially get rid of them. What looks at what we are drawing. Opponent knows we will draw a Seasoned Pyromancer. That's a good one. Still scary to not answer the core tapper right now. Because if we don't, he will also get to activate it on the cornucopia. But I think filling the graveyard and getting rid of those 2 Flages is more important. So I will just play the Seasoned Pyromancer. We also get to buff our Guide of Souls. And our opponent will maybe have to go all in to get anything else out of this Ugin, but we do have access to an escape Flage maybe next turn. Let's get rid of these two. We do make some token. Those are some decent draws actually. Let's just hit our opponent. Would have liked to see a Static Prison to answer an Ugin next turn. But beggars can't be choosers, right? The really scary thing about Ugin in this deck is that all their artifacts and colorless spells are really cheap. So Ugin basically is just a board wipe that stays on the board and will wipe the board every other turn. Opponent is thinking about something. Maybe there's another Kozilek's command to potentially answer our Guide of Souls and to exile our Flages, which would be really bad. The worst thing about Ugin would actually right now be that he exiles our creatures, so we are missing one card in our grave to actually get to escape our Flage. Do get to hit our opponent for 3. Does our opponent have Ugin? As long as our opponent does not have Ugin, I think we are pretty well off. But if our opponent does have Ugin, we are somewhat screwed. 6 mana, 7 mana, and it is Ugin. So there's not too much more going on. Maybe our opponent will just draw a card. He just draws a card. Is there anything else to get rid of our other creatures? There is a Cornucopia. Gets rid of our Spyro. Oh no, there is a Chalice. Gets rid of another token. We are in a lot of trouble. And another kicker. That's what I mean. Ugin in this deck is just a full-on board wipe that exiles all of our cards. We could potentially grab a Flage, but it would not really do anything. I think I will just stay back, play our Ocelot, sacrifice this Ocelot to Ugin. And next turn escape Flage with haste in hopes of keeping Ugin from doing too scary things. Ugin also gains 3 life by drawing the card, so it stabilizes our opponent as well. There the card as well. I doubt that there is anything we can do because our opponent will just grab something to exile our graveyard. Maybe our opponent doesn't. Let's just see what he gets before we scoop it up. Opponent grabs, Tormod Script, and we're out. On to sideboarding. Sideboarding against Dicefactory. I think we still want the Clarion Conqueror. Vexing Bauble also looks pretty decent, and I'm not sure if Blood Moon does too much. Molten Rain definitely could be okay. I really like the Wear Tear. Discharge does absolutely nothing. Thraben Charm probably also does absolutely nothing. Maybe we could go for Orm's Chant to stop our opponent from casting the dangerous stuff in a necessary turn. I think I still want to have Static Prison to answer his artifacts, or maybe even get rid of an Ugin. Do I want the Molten Rains is one of my bigger questions. I think I will go with the Molten Rains, shave one of the Flages, keep in one of the Blood Moons, because Blood Moon only affects the Eldrazi lands, and those only really do add something for Kozilek's command. Let's try it like this. Game number 2 against Dicefactory. We are on the play. It is only 1 lander, but we do have Ragavan, and if we draw another land or our Ragavan gets to connect, I really like this hand, so I will be greedy. Let's see what our opponent has. Opponent also keeps 7 and also has a Gemstone Caverns. It's pretty dangerous. Opponent gets rid of a Khan. So one of his payoffs is Gun, which most likely means that there is another payoff in his hand. Let's just hope that this Ragavan gets to live and connect. There's an Eldrazi Temple. Our opponent could possibly have a Kozilek's command turn 1. Opponent has a Glaring Flashbreaker. That's also annoying, but we can get rid of it with a static prison. Let's connect with the Ragavan. And I will play both the Mox Opal, which we can activate next turn with the treasure token, and I will play the Vexing Bauble after. Almost did it the wrong way around and countered our Mox Opal. But we do stop our opponent from playing cheap cornucopias and such. Opponent exiles Ugin with his Labyrinth. There is a Mystic Forge. Okay, we can answer that next turn. Our opponent can't really play anything off of it this turn because we do have the Vexing Bauble. We can just wear Tear it away. We could get rid of one of our opponent's land with a Molten Rain because our Mox Opal will be on with the treasure. But I think it's better to just get rid of the Mystic Forge and make it so our opponent doesn't really have access to anything. And we will also play the Guide of Souls. This Mox Opal was a really nice hit for us. Core Tapper, let's just keep it in exile. We play Guide of Souls. And we play a Wear Tear on the Mystic Forge. And next turn we can start gaining our energy back again, so the Static Prison stays active. See what our opponent has. Opponent plays another Mystic Forge, okay. Get rid of the top card. Good thing is that this Vexing Bauble stops the Mystic Forge from doing anything immediately. We find a land, that's also pretty good for us. Let's just hit our opponent. Make a treasure with Ragavan. We find a Kozilek's Command. We could play the Blood Moon to make it so our opponent has access to 2 less mana, or we can play Molten Rain. I think I will go with the Molten Rain. We can... Or do I have to go for Ajani to make the energy? I think I will go for the Molten Rain, even though that means that our Static Prison will die next turn, because this Mystic Forge can still be really scary. And we do have some answers left against the Flashbreaker. Opponent exiles Uggin's Labyrinth with this Mystic Forge and is already down to 9 life. Plays a Forest. Must have been his draw for turn. Can he play lands with Mystic Forge? No, only can cast. There is a Chalice on 1, we don't really care about that. Opponent is down to 1 card. We'll get the Flashbreaker. Would have liked to prevent that if we could have, but unfortunately I think it was the right call to get rid of the other stuff. And now we can play Ajani, enlighten some energy, and we can also play the Blood Moon. We'll have to stay back for a turn, or I will offer the trade with the Ragavan actually. Opponent takes a hit. Let's see what we get. We exile another Ugin. Okay. Flashbreaker is really scary. So let's see what our opponent can do with Glaring Flashbreaker and Mystic Forge. There is another Flashbreaker. Flashbreaker in multiple is even more scary than a Flashbreaker on its own. So let's see. Opponent does not have anything on top with the Mystic Forge right now. We are also lucky that our opponent just has lands on top with the Mystic Forge. There's no denying that. Plays another land. It appears that there is not much going on. 3 mana, what is it? Just a Cornucopia? It is just a Cornucopia. Okay, we can definitely live with that. Can definitely live with that. Opponent deals a lot of damage to us, makes some more token. Some more mana. Something else, Mishra's Bauble. It does get countered, but he still gets the cast triggers. Take even more damage. Now opponent does not have anything else. I will sacrifice the Vexing Bauble now, because we have to find something. There is a Static Prison, that's pretty good. And there is a Fable. We play a Fable. Can attack with a cat, our opponent will block right there, we block right there. But we can give our Ragavan flying. We can get rid of his Mystic Fortress or Static Prison. Take with these two. Flying to our Ragavan. Opponent, of course, just blocks Cat. But fortunately enough, we can get rid of the Mystic Fortress right here. Opponent has one draw. It must be something good. It is just another bauble. Should not be enough damage. Why is this deck tanking on my side? Time? Hello? Yeah. Right, okay. Bauble does resolve, but opponent could draw a Kozilek's command right there, which would be lethal. That's pretty much our opponent's only out. Does he draw the Kozilek's command right here? He doesn't. Okay, on to game number 3. Sideboarding once more against Dicefactory after seeing the glaring flash breakers on our opponent's side. I, on the one hand, think that Blood Moon is not as good as I expected it to be, and on the other, I think that we still do have to keep some discharges in to have removal for those. Get rid of these. Molten Rain also did not really seem too good, so we can also cut those. Opponent is running Urza Saga, so I will keep this Rain Charms as I can do double duty against Urza Saga and the Flash Breakers. And as the last card, I will take in one more Galvanic Discharge. Let's see how it goes, and hope we draw a Glaring Conqueror. Game number 3 against Dicefactory. Our hand looks really good to have a linear game plan of our own. But unfortunately, I think that's just not enough to win in this matchup. I think we need one piece of interaction. Our opponent is already mulliganing down to 6, which we do like to see. Don't have a Goblin Bombardment in this hand to really go nuts. If our opponent has something scary, we will die. So I think, even though this hand is really good, can we afford to mulligan such a hand? That's really tough. I think I will mulligan this, because we don't have a way to interact with our opponent. And I don't regret it. We are rewarded. That's an incredible curve for us to have. Let's get rid of the mountain. Turn 1 Guide of Souls, turn 2 Ajani, and turn 3 Clarion Conqueror. If our opponent finds no answer to the Conqueror, he may just solo the entire game. I'm really banking a lot of this guy. Place the empty cornucopia, opponent starts playing artifacts. Activates his Mox Opal. And plays a Flash Breaker, okay. That's no Core Tapper. And our opponent also played one bauble too many to activate the Opal, so he did miss out on one Cyan. Let's just play Ajani. Just stay patient and go for the Conqueror next turn. Because the Conqueror will be really good at shutting off both the Cyans and his artifacts. Opponent has an Urza Saga. That's a really good one. Maybe that's it. Opponent sacrificed both baubles, so his Opal is not active anymore. So he only has access to 2.5-ish mana. Opponent definitely missequenced right there. There is a Mox Opal, so he can make one spawn. But he has to legible one away. Yes, that's it. Nice. Let's play the Conqueror. And let's shut off our opponent. No spawns, no Mox Opal, no Cornucopia for you. Unfortunately, it is kind of a non-bow with Ajani, but that's a sacrifice we are willing to make. Nice. As long as our opponent does not find a second Flashbreaker to just storm off with the trigger and just kill us with it, I think we're in a really good position right now. And we even draw a Seasoned Pyromancer to refuel. Nice. Let's just grab a Plains, play the Ocelot. Gain a life, gain an energy, play the Seasoned Pyromancer, gain another life and another energy, and draw 2 cards. Opponent scoops it up. Let's go! On to match number 4. Match number 4, we are 3-0 currently, playing Borrowed Energy. Our hand is looking pretty okay. We do have Ocelot Pride, we have a removal, we have Seasoned Pyromancer to pitch our Blood Moon away and draw some cards, or we have a Blood Moon in case it should be good. For as long as it is good. If you don't know why Blood Moon should maybe no longer be good, or maybe a bit more toxic in the future, look at my previous video where I talk about the current new rule change coming with Final Fantasy that changes the way Blood Moon interacts with sagas. Opponent plays a Flooded Strand and passes the turn. We draw Guide of Souls. I really do like the sound of that. Let's just play a Sacred Foundry, and I will also lead with the Guide of Souls now. Maybe we are playing the mirror, maybe it's a control deck. We shall see. And it's Frog with Darkslick Shores. Interesting. Darkslick Shores, Watery Grave, and the Undercity Sewers. There's a Fatal Push. Sure. Nice. Another Ocelot Pride. They do come in pairs. So let's just go for it. Cat number 1. Cat number 2. Your go, opponent. And now we are hoping that our opponent does not grab a basic, so our Blood Moon will be able to wreck them next turn. There is a King to Dust, so it is some sort of blue-black tempo control-ish variant. Just not seen Darkslick Shores be played in so long. I do miss Darkslick Shores. Opponent has a Swordsea, so he will probably just get rid of the Blood Moon. Maybe he will get rid of the Seasoned Pyromancer instead, because it's also a really good card. He gets rid of the Seasoned Pyromancer because he has a fetch land to grab a basic. That makes sense. He will just go and hit our opponent. Maybe he also just has a counter spell for the Blood Moon, which case it does not really matter. But we will still prohibit our opponent from having access to too many different colors. And there goes a basic island, counterspell. No counterspell. Opponent down to only 1 island. And so far our opponent has only played black spells. Now I'm really wondering why our opponent did not just take the Seasoned Pyromancer. Maybe he has another basic in hand? Or maybe he just regrets his choice. There's just a Superphoric Springs. Does not really do too much. Let's play a Voice of Victory to protect our creatures. There is a spell snare, sure. Good thing is, if you count our permanents, that's 4 creatures, 4 lands, and 1 enchantment over here. We do have 9 permanents, so our City Splitting will be activated retroactively with the trigger, and we will make 6 cats. Booyah! Everybody, study your Ocelot Pride math. First one makes 2 tokens, second one makes 6 tokens, and then you go up to 14 and it goes completely nuts. Just like the discard choice from our opponent. Onto sideboarding against blue-black, something. We are playing against blue-black stuff. I expect our opponent to be a bit more of a control-ish deck because we have seen his Cling to Dust. So let's pack some Graveyard Hate. And I think we will get rid of 1 Flage and 1 Thraden Charm for now. Now I want to look at what else our opponent is packing, because maybe our Showdowns should also be in our deck. I will just keep the 1 Blood Moon to be cheeky, but our opponent now knows about Blood Moon. He knew about it before, but didn't play around it properly. And maybe Ragavan will be bad, but so far it looked like a control variant, so Ragavan should be good. Maybe our opponent just had a weird draw and actually is playing stuff like Orcish Bowmasters and Tamio. in which case Ragavan would not be too good. On to game number 2. Opponent is mulliganing. We do have multiple Ajani, we do have Goblin Bombardment to combine them. I will keep this on the draw. Our land base is looking pretty weird, but Arena of Glory being such a disgusting card as it is in combination with both Boys of Victory and especially Flage, it's to be 3 of in these days. Opponent plays some Marshlets. We'll probably use those to grab a basic this time. Let's just mirror what our opponent does. Maybe he grabs a Surveillant. Shall see. He still grabs the Surveillant, does not respect our moon, and gets rid of a Murktide Regent. So he is playing Murktide. That does not tell us too much. Opponent is preordaining. He is probably looking for a land. Puts one on top, one on bottom. There is a basic swamp. Okay. Let's just grab a Surveillant. Good thing about this basic swamp is it does not counter our Goblin Bombardment. We'll move to our turn. Grab a basic Plains and play the Bombardment. Have fun with that, opponent. And next turn we can play a Soulguide Lantern to start chipping away at our opponent's graveyard and play a Ajani. I expect them to have an answer to Ajani, or they just play Psychic Frog. It's also pretty poor. Opponent does not have another land, so we will definitely try to kill this Psychic Frog with our Ajani. Let's go with that. Ajani does finally resolve. We will make our cat. And we will make our opponent decide on keeping this Psychic Frog or discarding most of his hand. Especially because we do have the backup Ajani. Let's shoot the frog. Will you discard 2 cards to save your frog, opponent? Opponent appears to revalue his Psychic Frog, which is understandable because he seems to be stranded on lands, which we pretty much expected from his preordain. And our opponent also did have a subtlety beforehand. And now let's make our opponent discard 1 card more while we're at it. Opponent gets rid of a Fatal Push. We could make him get rid of 1 more card. But I think I want to keep this Ocelot Pride. So next time we can play Ajani and Thraben Charm. Opponent will most likely get this Psychic Rock flying and kill our Ajani, but that's okay. He had to use so many resources to get rid of it. Don't really mind this. Psychic Rock gets flying, it's our Ajani, sure. Opponent gets to draw a card with it. It's also not that our opponent got rid of any weak cards. He actually pitched some really strong cards. He pitched Fatal Push, Subtlety, and Orcish Bowmaster. Our opponent probably has some good cards left in his hand. Just play our land. I will try to hit our opponent with Ocelot Pride before doing anything else to make sure we gain the life. Make some token end of turn. It's probably a Bowmaster. It is a Bowmaster. Opponent shoots our face with the Bowmaster, that's interesting. Opponent blocks with both, so we will trade away one with damage and ping away the other one. Maybe we should have played the Ajani before combat. We'll play Ajani now. Clock up the floor. I will also play and crack the Soulguide Lantern so our opponent can't get the Psychic Rock flying. Let's get rid of you. And let's just exile your yard. I hope to draw a land next turn to play Seasoned Pyromancer and with the trigger on this deck be able to Thraben Charm. Opponent just straight up goes to combat. Let's block with our cat to flip Ajani. We'll flip. Opponent has a Spell Bomb, sure. We don't have anything important in our graveyard right now. We draw the land, but we don't have enough creatures for it to be worth doing. Opponent is at 6 cards and I could go up to 4. I will just look for a better answer against this Psychic Frog with the Seasoned Pyromancer and just get rid of this Raven Charm. Unless our opponent has a Stern Scolding, which would really suck. Drawing a bit too many lands, so we really need the Seasoned Pyromancer to resolve. Opponent has a Subtlety to answer it. Got rid of a counter spell. We will definitely put this on top. We will make a cat and shoot our opponent. Now the nice thing about this Raven Charm is that it buys us one more turn because we can exile our opponent's graveyard, so he doesn't get to give the Psychic Frog flying again. Opponent does exile our grave. Draws a card with a nice Spellbomb. And we will just exile his graveyard. We do have the Seasoned Pyromancer on top of our library, which will definitely help us refuel. See what our opponent has. Opponent has a Fatal Push for our cat. That's pretty sad because he does get to kill our Johnny and draw a card. If you're really looking for an answer for this Psychic Frog, because we unfortunately did draw that many lands. And damage removal does not really cut it anymore. Opponent shots in the Watery Grave, so that's most likely a counter spell for our Seasoned Pyromancer right here. Sure is. Now we're actually on the back foot, even after such a great start. It's pretty rough. That's the power of Psychic Frog. Down to 14, 0 cards in hand. Our opponent has 3 cards. And now he also has lands to play stuff. Even gets to exile our Seasoned Pyromancer, so we can't even make token. Let's just pass the turn. There's a Bowmaster. It's not the worst. Not the best as well, but it's not the worst. Take the hit. Opponent plays a Tamio. Passes the turn. Opponent does not have counterspell mana right now. So there is a chance. Not with the land on top. And it's an Ocelot Pride. Unfortunately, does not cut it up. Opponent can just kill us. Let's go back to sideboarding now that we know what our opponent is playing. So our opponent is actually just playing normal blue-black frog. Just did not have anything going on in the first game, so we can also get rid of the Ragavan. I do like this Raven Charm a lot more right now. So I will just shave one Ragavan because we are on the play. But I do want as many answers to Psychic Frog and Murktide region as possible. Showdown of the Skulls unfortunately is a bit too slow against the deck with counter spells. So let's just shave one Ragavan, grab the second Raven Charm, and run back. On the play against blue-black Murktide, this hand looks pretty good. Let's just keep it. Play the Flooded Strand and run out our Guide of Souls. See what our opponent does. Maybe there is just a tap land and we can just safely play our Goblin Bombardment because Bombardment on board is really nice against them. Should have possibly shaved one, I just realized that we didn't do that. Because having multiple Bombardment against them, that's kind of hurt. That's still okay. Let's grab a Plains. Let's play the Bombardment. Is there a Spell Snare? No Spell Snare. That's good for us. We have the Bombardment in play, so we can always deal some damage even if our opponent has removal spells. And together with Ocelot Pride and the Galvanic Discharge, we can really pressure a Psychic Frog coming right now. That's just a Tamio, that does not really concern us. Just play the Ocelot Pride. Opponent kills a Guide of Souls in response. Opponent has a Stern Scolding. Okay, let's just get rid of his Tamio. And let's hit our opponent for 1. Stern Scolding on an Ocelot Pride also is absolutely fine with that. Trade 1 mana for 1 mana. Stern Scolding on something like a Seasoned Pyromancer is way worse for us. Even if a resolved Ocelot Pride right here would have been really good. Don't understand me wrong. But we can work with it. I will actually keep the Ragavan because we do have the Bombardment as a backup. Let's play Soulguide Lantern. Get rid of one of our opponent's spells right here. And attack for 1. It's probably a Bowmaster coming right now. Just a Fatal Push, so we can just sacrifice our guide. I think right now I will just sacrifice the Soulguide Lantern to draw a card and not bother exiling our opponent's graveyard. Because I do want to dig deeper into our library. There is a Spell Bomb from our opponent. Opponent does have 2 mana up. Let's see if our opponent has something interesting. We do find Arjani. That's really nice. I think I will play a Blood Moon for now and try to bait out our opponent's counterspell because he has to use his counterspell, otherwise he's color screwed once more. That's a counterspell, and next turn we can go for Ragavan and Arjani. And obviously we will send back off Lage as long as possible with the Spell Bomb in play. There is a Psychic Frog. This time our opponent does not have too many cards in hand. We do find a Guide of Souls. That's also really interesting. Do we play Ragavan or Arjani? Ragavan or Guide, I mean. We can also now... I think now going for Flage is actually worth it because we can deal 4 damage to the Psychic Frog with it. We do just have a pretty good removal spell for it. Let's just deal the 3 damage. Maybe our opponent goes to discard everything. He doesn't. Our opponent could have cracked the Spell Bomb before our Flage died to draw the card and keep his Psychic Frog. But that way we would have still had our Flage. Now he gets to crack the Spell Bomb, and we're pretty much even footing. But our opponent has 1 land and 1 card more. We do have our Bombardment in play. Would really struggle to deal with a big Murktide Regent right now. That's pretty much the most dangerous thing our opponent can find. He keeps both cards on top with his Preordain. Okay, let's just play our Guide of Souls. I will dash the Ragavan in hopes of baiting out our opponent's interaction and making sure our Arjani gets to resolve after. Ragavan does resolve. So let's just go to combat and try to hit our opponent with a Ragavan. And opponent has a Fatal Push, so we will just sacrifice a Ragavan, deal 1 damage. And we will just be happy with our Guide of Souls in play. Opponent passes the turn. So there's most likely a counter spell waiting for us. Maybe it's just a removal spell. Let's just run out some Arjani. It is a subtlety, so I will surveil before it hits the field, because we do want to keep Arjani, but still want to look at what's underneath. Let's get rid of this. Let's put Arjani back on top of our library and pass the turn. Really important to not accidentally shuffle away our Arjani, but still thin our library for the other draws. We could have kept our Surveillant at the ready to surveil later on. But I think in theory it does not really make a difference. That way we already got rid of the land. Don't accidentally make a mistake. Play Arjani again. Is it another subtlety? Oh no, it's another subtlety. We will put Arjani on top yet again. And pass the turn. 2 subtleties right here. It's really annoying. But the good thing is that one Ajani resolving can get rid of 1 and buff our Guide of Souls and gain us 2 more life back. Down to 10 already. Just a Cling to Dust, we can deal with that. Preordain, opponent is looking for something. Let's just hope it's not a counter spell. It's been quite a long time since I've been subtlety locked like this. Opponent puts both cards on the bottom of his library, and that looks like a Murktide Regent. Oh no! Now we are under a lot of pressure. We do get to remove one of the subtleties and just get barely enough life to not be dead on board. But it's not looking good for us, chat. Let's get rid of this one subtlety. We are at 13 life. Good thing is, we will still survive 1 Orcish Bowmaster. Bad thing is, we are at 0 cards in hand and our opponent got to sculpt his hand just the tiniest bit with the Preordain, but he has 4 cards and an 8/8 Murktide Regent on board. There is another Psychic Frog hitting the field, so we basically need to find something absolutely godlike. Oh no, right, we're just dead, Psychic Frog plus Murktide Regent, yeah, what am I thinking about here? We are just dead. That's rough, that's rough. Exactsies even. Damn. GG's opponent. On to the next match. Match number 5. We once again won our die roll. That's pretty lucky for us, and our hand looks pretty good. Let's just keep it. She's meditating on the state of Magic these days. Another Eldrazi deck. Let's see if it's something different. I mean, Dicefactory is not really that much of an Eldrazi deck, but it does play Cleric Flashbreaker and Kozilek's Command, so I will count it. Let's see what our opponent is looking for. It's also really good that we do have this Voice of Victory right here, because if our opponent does play Kozilek's Return, Voice of Victory does dodge it really well. Also, Voice of Victory plus Ocelot Pride is really nice. That looks like an Eldrazi Aggro deck. Chalice and Secluded Courtyard. So let's just play our Voice of Victory. And start getting in with our Ocelot Pride. Opponent not having the Sire guaranteed is really good for us. And our opponent only having Caverns instead of real Soul Lands also is really nice for us. That's such a good draw. Oh my fucking god. Our opponent, we will make our opponent have the board wipe or just lose the game. And I don't know if Eldrazi Aggro plays actual Kozilek's Return. So let's just see what our opponent has got. Our opponent doesn't have it. On to game number 2. That was a quick one. Sideboarding against Eldrazi Aggro. Fable of the Mirror Breaker gets a lot worse here. Thrain Charm also does get a lot worse. They do run small creatures like Eldrazi Linebreaker, so we will keep in the Galvanic Discharge, and we still want to hit with our Ragavan to get our big stuff out earlier. So let's just try it like this. On the draw against Eldrazi Aggro, I forgot to bring in my Weird, I just realized, so we are kind of cold against Chalice of the Void. But we do have Goblin Bombardment and a Molten Rain. We have a Discharge in case our opponent plays a Flashbreaker or something like that, so I will actually keep this even though we don't have any proactive threats, because it can still work against certain draws of them. And I'm kind of tired, to be honest, so I know that it's not correct, but let's see if we may be rewarded. Opponent just plays Eldrazi Temple and passes a turn. We will just play our Parlor. Find value! Let's go, that's how Magic is played. Draw non-net, mill the Flage, profit. Does our opponent have a Linebreaker? Opponent has a Chalice on 1. Okay, so our Galvanic Discharges are just dead cards. But we do have a Bombardment for now. And we have a Molten Red next turn. And we can just cast our Discharges to fuel our yard for the Flage, so it's not the absolute worst, I guess. Let's hope there's no Manco spawn, or no... It's just a Line Breaker. Okay, we can deal with that. Not with our Discharges, unfortunately, but Flage will be relevant in a bit. Let's grab a Plains to preserve our life total a little bit. And get rid of this Eldrazi Temple. And now we just have to not die to this Line Breaker. One plays another land. False Eldrazi does not have another creature. We are down to 9. Unlicensed Hearth. Oh no. Oh no. This Unlicensed Hearth will ruin our day. Oh no, no. Now it's gotten a lot harder. I did not expect Unlicensed Hearth. Okay. Opponent also finds the wastes. So he has 4 mana. We might just die actually. We don't, luckily enough, but we do have to find a Seasoned Pyromancer and hit something really great off of it. We find a Static Prism, so everything we do will get countered. Another quick game. On to game number 3. Sideboarding for game number 3 against Eldrazi Aggro. They did just show us that they do play Unlicensed Hearth, and we already knew they have Chalice of the Weird, so we do have to bring in the Weird here. So let's just cut 2 of our Discharges, I think, and keep 1 Fable so we're not too cold against Chalice of the Void. And have some more top end. And try it like this. Game number 3, match number 5. We are playing against Eldrazi Aggro, and our hand is okay. We're on the play and we have double Molten Rain. We're just looking for another land. Opponent has a Devourer of Destiny. But I think on the play, having double Molten Rain can just do enough. Would have obviously loved to have a 1-drop. But we also do have Fable and Flage to get rid of anything else. Opponent has a Labyrinth. Is it just a turn 1 Chalice again? Looks like it. That's a Chalice of the Void, so I'm not too mad that our hand is not stacked with 1-drops. Kind of played around that with this hand. Looking for a land. That's another land. It's not the land we want, but it is the land we deserve, so let's just keep it. Mill another Flage. Nice. And pass the turn. Opponent plays an unclaimed territory. Does he have another Line Breaker? Looks like a Line Breaker. That's a Flash Breaker, okay. Now Flash Breaker is really dangerous, so we might have to Flage it now, but I think when Molten Raining away this land, the Flash Breaker gets a lot less scary. So we'll keep it up for at least 1 turn. Depending on what our opponent does right now. Because now this is just a normal land, it's not a soul land. But he does have it heralds the end. Now I will get rid of the Flage, of the Flash Breaker with our Flage. Even though the that heralds the end also is really annoying. Let's Flage it away. Play this tapped Foundry. Opponent does have 1-2 Eldrazi spawns that are able to attack, but we did still control his access to mana quite a bit. Flashbreakers is stopped, so he does not get to ramp anymore, and it's just a normal forest. What's the worst thing that could happen? Probably a Writhing Chrysalis. I did do that to myself. I did kind of summon this Chrysalis, and it's even more dangerous because it that Herald the Ants makes his spawns attack. So I will 100% play the Goblin Bombardment. Do we play Fable or do we play Molten Rain? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Our opponent could potentially play 7-drop next turn. And we know that he has a Devourer in his hand. Could stop that, but I think I have to play the Fable to find something. Just playing Flage against this Chrysalis won't really do enough. Let's pass a turn and hope for the worst. The worst might actually just be a simple land drop. Opponent has another land, so he has access to basically 7 mana because it's that Herald the Ants reduces the cost of his Harbinger. Devourer, I mean. Only takes with the Chrysalis. I will take the hit. Opponent does not cast anything right now. You find another Flage that's pretty nice. Let's get rid of this. Let's escape our Flage. Especially now that our opponent thinks that we lost access to our Flage, or to our second one, and think that exiling this Flage will get rid of it permanently. Should be really nice. We also reduce the threat of these spawns by quite a decent bit. Attack with our Shaman. How many permanents do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we will actually make more treasure token when we play our Ocelot Pride right now as well. And we can get rid of his Eldrazi spawns. Right. There's the Chalice of the Void. Don't mind what I just said. But I will sacrifice my Shaman to get rid of his spawns so he does not get to cast his Devourer. That was a card I forgot. One gets to buff his Chrysalis. Most importantly, he does not have access to 7 mana. Unless he draws a Soul Land, and in that case, so be it. Would just be tough luck, and next turn we can Molten Rain away one of his lands and Flage away another thing. And a Warping away, so he does have access. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He has to draw land to have access to it. Do we risk it or do we just sacrifice our Flage? I think we will just risk it. Our opponent only has a Devourer in hand and he has to draw land to be able to cast it. Do you have another land, opponent? He does not. Is it a command? The Chalice on 2. Okay, we can live with that. We can absolutely live with that. Our opponent does not really have any attacks. We do have a Molten Rain coming. We have to basically solo win the entire game with our Flages. Oh, that's also nice. We do find a Wear Test. We can get rid of one of those if we are willing to sacrifice an enchantment as well. But let's first just attack our opponent. Get rid of one of those. Our opponent will just sacrifice it, which is to be expected. Yes. But we still get a big hit in. And we also get to Molten Rain away one of its lands. And now we can go even further. Play this Flage. We will keep the original. And and deal 3 more damage to our opponent. So our opponent is down to 4 mana, has a Devourer in hand, and pretty much no hope left to survive the next turn. Opponent finds a Flash Wrecker. Don't really care about that, because we can even just kill it with our Flage without him being able to respond. The opponent has to block our Flage. Do we sacrifice the Seal? So he has to block with that. That way we get rid of both, right? Yeah. We sacrifice our Reflection to kill his Eldrazi spawn that our opponent can even sacrifice to buff his Chrysalis. But luckily enough, his Chrysalis still only has 6 toughness. So we can attack our opponent. Get rid of the Flash Wrecker, and our opponent has to block with the Chrysalis to not die. Trade it away. And now we pass the turn. I also just realized we could have killed our opponent if we had shot our opponent and used the Wear Tail to destroy our own Goblin Bombardment and one of the Chalices to escape the other Flage. Could have killed our opponent, but I doubt there's any way for our opponent to get out of this with only 3 lands and being semi-Chalice locked himself. Nice. 4-1 with Boros Energy. Have a good one. Write a comment what deck you want to see next. And good night.